Welcome back to Linda Vista Live. And our guest today is Jay Diaz of Print Coast to Coast. Jay, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you, Franny. Thank you for having me. And Jose, thank you. Nice to be
Thank
here.
you.
Yes, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to talk to Jay. We have had dealings with Jay
That's
before, and his wonderful company, who just takes your ideas and just creates and makes things happen. Whether you're up and coming entrepreneur, an established business here locally in the area, Lewis, Rehoboth, the name is known.
That's
He's
right.
known. So thank you for joining us.
And if you don't know him personally, I know you've seen the truck, the van.
Yes.
Up and down Route 1, you know.
My rolling billboard.
That's right,
That's
rolling
right.
billboard, man. So
Mhm.
who are you, man?
Who am I? Well, I grew up in Smyrna, moved down to the beach in '95 because my friend owns the biggest liquor store in the area, which I branded as the greatest liquor store in the world and got that copywritten for him. So that was back when I was left the food and beer business. So I've sold a lot of things, and now I sell my experience in marketing and like I said, I sold. I also coach, so I sold sneakers for Foot Locker when I was in my 20s, and but here as in my real adult life, I've sold beer, wine, liquor, food, for Cisco, U.S. Foods, and now our company, Print Coast to Coast, is we print things. We put ink on things from business cards to banners, I always say, and everything in between. But really, I think the big value for what we do is taking my experience, my wife's experience, and the talent of our crew and staff to put it all together. So when you bring me a file, or if you need help with the file, we want to know what it is you're trying to accomplish. If you go to Staples and give them a file, they might look at their watch and think lunch break is coming, and print it on paper, and you're gone. We take a look at it. We've got a girl who's amazing with proofreading, and she invariably always catches a typographical error. So we try to make what you want to happen, and we utilize our experience. I have vast marketing experience, and we our knowledge of our products and our machines and of the area. So we try to put that all together. So in the bit of time we're looking at your project, we try to make it work for you. So, I have a ton of experience in this business now, so I'm in the business of helping other businesses. But that's not to say I'm not also, happy to help a starving artist who comes in who wants to take this painting and make it into note cards. We love working with people. So, I'm this guy who started, a long time ago doing this, and after all these years of experience, I like to make people look good, marketing people who are marketing for their businesses, and I like to make the businesses successful. Some customers of mine, I say, you don't even need a marketing department. I'll give you my 2 cents basically for free and become your partner. And the better you do, the better I do.
That's right.
So, that's kind of it in a little nutshell.
I love that you said that you sell your experience.
Yeah.
I think that's because you're not just selling the product.
I think I give my experience away and then I sell the printing.
Yeah.
Because my wife gets on me all the time. You're like, you come up with these ideas and these taglines, and you don't. And I was like, well, in the long run, it comes back around.
Yeah.
The Starboard, I was selling beer, and I wanted that spot. Budweiser always had that spot up there outside, I said, what do I have to do to get Miller Lite up there? And he was like, well, I don't know, come up with something. I was like, how about this? The Starboard, when it rains, we pour. He said, I love it. Because it was out there on the outside, on the deck, and then they had covered it up. And man, it was like 20 years later, he was still selling sweatshirts with that on. That was his tagline out there. We pour. And I said, you remember that I'm the one that came up with that? And he was like, hold on a second. He went and he threw a sweatshirt at me and said, here you go, thanks. But it just made me feel good that I was able to throw, so I give that stuff away all the time, and sometimes it drives Melody crazy. I'm like, well, we don't have time to copyright all this stuff. I got to print business cards, darn it.
As I'm sitting here talking to you, Jay, I just, completely transparency. I remember when I first started, I had came to you, right? And sometimes we take things for granted, right? Because and as like you said, as a starving artist, right? When you first start, all you doing is counting pennies. But looking back, if I have any advice to give anyone, it would be to really connect with a local expert in what they do. Because I failed to see that, right? Because I was like, oh my God, I can get it over here and I can go online. But walking into this brother's office and seeing the team and doing a thing like today, you bringing the piece and being able to have that discussion, having someone say, hey, you might want to work on this before we put it out. That's priceless.
Yeah.
So, from someone that's been there, starting out where you just counting every penny and you think because you're going to save a few other pennies over there, you are missing out on a whole a lot.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said that because, the era that we're in is people are busy and the internet is right there. It's so easy to log in and try to surf these different things and make the sale and go, and then you get it in and you look at it, you're like, oh man, it's not the same as it looked like on my computer screen.
Yes.
And then heaven forbid you try to call somebody and get somebody on the line, and then by the time if you do eventually get it fixed, how much time has passed. And I think people then all assume if you can do it online, it's cheaper. And sometimes that goes back to you were saying, penny wise, dollar foolish.
Right.
If you're worried about saving a couple pennies, I say, look, I'd rather you not order the 5,000 postcards online and sit there all day, all night long, printing out address labels and putting them on. I'm like, you let me print that address on there.
Right.
You go sell a house, go show a house. You do what you do, I do what I do. And of course, money's important. But if you start comparing us to like a Staples of the world or Vistaprint, once you get the order in and look at what you paid by the time you upgraded the paper and what you got, we're actually sometimes we're less expensive. And I hate to say that because if that's the case, I should be raising my prices, right? But no, the value that we bring, sometimes you can't put. But I know you. I remembered you. You were in Seaford. You were pumping it up out there. Now you're over here on the big time West Coast.
Working on it.
The East Coast. I'm sorry. I think relationships are important.
Yeah, they are.
Awesome. So you kind of already touched on how you became an entrepreneur because you've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, and now you've shifted into marketing, and that's your main focus. But what were the resources that you had during those times that kind of helped you get to where you are?
Well, I always knew as a kid, I wanted to, I'm going to say to be my own boss, because I'm not bossy, but you think of dreaming, what do you want to do when you're a kid? You don't know, besides being a fireman or an actor, or my mom said the president, and I am the president now. I'm the president of my own business, right? But I'm also the oldest of 4 siblings, so I was always, kind of the leader in my own thing. So I think, being a leader is important. So I think that, I guess being open and not closed-minded and open-hearted opens more avenues for you. You don't know. I think I always say if you open up your mind, your heart, like to the ethos, you'll if you have good thoughts, good things will come. If you have bad thoughts, maybe bad, and if you're closed, you're not letting things in. So I think I've put myself in the right places based on good, honest relationships, networks, open-mindedness, and the reason I'm in this business specifically is because of my wife. She was in the printing business when I was selling food. So I started putting people together, friends together, relationships together over time. I started putting some of my customers together with the menus that she was printing. So my first exposure to the printing business was gathering up the information for a menu and taking it to her. She had an established business, and learned a little bit, about ink on paper, if you will. But my previous company also did talk to restaurants about managing your menus and engineering the menu. So I didn't know that was going to lead me towards being, better with menus in my business, but keeping your mind open and absorbing all the information. So there was no one set thing. My wife basically led me to this specific business, but I think no matter what I was doing, it would have to be something I'm comfortable with, something dealing with people and giving of myself and then getting back. There have been friends, along the way that helped us with investments, acted like a bank when we weren't really ready to go to the bank, we still created a formal proposal with a business plan and with the dollars, explaining and justifying the dollars that we needed. And they bet on us. They believed in us, and we, paid it back just like a loan to the bank. We had to start as a cottage business, but we did fit out our, the space that we had so that we had the office, the production, and we still got dressed for work every day. So a lot of it is, our upbringing, I think. And then in terms of I have met with a county person and a bank person, a business like coach type of thing, and they talked about the business plan. And honestly, that works for a lot of people, and it seemed really too daunting for me. Like I kind of kept putting that off and just, well, let me just do it. And we had to become more organized. And as a business, if you want to be successful, either it runs you or you run it. So, but the relationships I built over the years, whether it was selling beer or selling food, and the networking, the friends, those then became my customers in printing. A lot of them, I print for restaurants that I sold food to, and we still have great relationships. Places that I sold beer to, wine to. We had those relationships, and honestly, I didn't reach out to them to tell them this is what I was doing. It kind of, again, through the networking, is that what you're doing now? Well, hey, can you do this for me?
Yeah.
And then they start telling friends, the networking. So basically, that's how I got here. It was, it's not like your normal ladder, go to college, get the internship, and, apply for this grant or whatever. We, kind of unorthodox, but.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think is the most common reason people fail or give up?
I guess it's probably not preparing, right? The 5 Ps, prior planning, but also, following through on whatever it is you say you're going to do it. I think that we have a lot of options out there, like I said, with the internet, or in your particular case, there's probably 1,700 realtors. Okay. So you have to have that, maybe that it thing, and then be that it or be that you. You have to differentiate yourself from everybody else. So I think that sometimes people, and I saw this even in the food business, particularly, that you can't understand, you can't believe that a certain business in the certain location would fail. But they might be focusing too much on a spreadsheet 7 days, 6 days a week, trying to find out who's got the cheapest green beans instead of wandering around the floor. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or they make some money and they go and buy a new truck or a new boat instead of reinvesting in new equipment. Yeah. I think, I think some people have talent, but they dream too much instead of realizing, like I said, in our particular case, my wife was adamant. It might be in the basement, but we're getting up and we're getting dressed and we're going to work. Yeah. And she was right, because then you feel it, you believe it, you're representing yourself. I might make the best note card ever in my boxers and an old T-shirt, but it's not the same. Yeah. So I think a lot of businesses fail because they don't prepare and they don't follow through and really be professional about it. But keep within the lines, right? Know what you're good at and focus on that. You maybe you don't have to do everything to be good. Just be good, and just be true to the relationships. Yeah. Don't take the check and you're gone. If you mess up, you own up. Yeah. If you overcook the steak, you can yell at the guy in the back, but cook it, make them leave with a smile.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So there's a number of things I think people mess up on there, Jose.
I have to agree with that, definitely. And what is your, you would think, or you would say, is your unique skill or superpower in this business?
Relationship building. Yeah. I mean, I think, when I worked for Cisco Foods, it's huge, big company. They didn't call us salespeople. You might be okay you might be a salesperson, you might be selling stuff, but we were relationship managers. And that's, I love that term. Yeah. So to me, it's about the relationship. It's like being real, being true, and, true, honest to a fault maybe sometimes, but I think that's our, and even when I look at my crew, and I think that there's no coincidences when it comes to like the people on my team. we'd never put an ad or looked out. You kind of know when it's the right person at the right time. I'm telling you, I'm not saying like this is a big God thing, but I think you open your heart up and look up, and whether you call it praying or whatever, the right person at the right time has always shown up, always shown up. And we've got a crew who's they're unique. Every one of them almost irreplaceable. But if one of them had to go, we would be provided, and they're all extremely valuable. So I think it's noticing, and knowing who the right person for the job is. Like for me personally, I sometimes if that question's asked of me, I feel sometimes like you have to be like, let's say Tom Brady in football, the quarterback. He may not be doing all the plays, but he knows on what play to throw to who or hand
That's
to who,
true.
or when to take the knee, or to take yourself out.
Yeah.
And to not be afraid to train people to be better than you. No, I don't have an ego that way. One guy who works on our equipment, one day I sang something out, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's, how can you embarrass yourself that way? I was like, I'm not embarrassed. I mean, I thought I hit those notes pretty good when I sang that out. And I don't take myself too seriously, but I take what I do seriously. And I try to keep that atmosphere around me serious when I need to be. And, but, just keeping it real. And noticing that with my team, because I can't do it all. And I've been told that over the years by when I was in Foot Locker and training, guys like, you can't do everything. You've got to delegate, because you've got 2 hands. There's 8 guys here.
Yeah.
That's 10 hands. So, that's I think it's another power, is making sure you delegate to the right people and be stronger.
That's so important for anybody in business and entrepreneurs that are up and coming, because there's a lot of people that struggle with that. Myself as well. I struggle with delegating things to other people, not because I don't want them to be better than me, but because I'm fearful that it's not going to get done the way that I want to do it. And you got to let go of that, because you are so much more powerful when you are able to delegate.
Yeah, and show them, because one of my sayings is, that was my problem. If you want something done your way, do it yourself, right? But you can't. There's only so many hours in a day, so then show them at least close enough, and then come back and be your 1-minute manager, where you review, okay, this is what I asked you to do, this is what you did, this is what I'd like to see. Always finish on a positive note, but teach them, and keep coming back to them. And if it's just not the right job for them, then get them on something that is right. But you're absolutely right.
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
because it's control, right?
Yes, it is. It is. But you got to let that go.
Right.
You have to, if you're looking to be successful in business, you've got to let it go.
Right.
And have a great team. Like
Build
you,
the team.
Yes, like you just said, and knowing who to throw the ball to, and who's going to run that task for you the best. So I love that.
What do you wish you had known when you first started?
I don't know, because that's another one of my adages. When I was 18, I said, I made it. I'm the man. I know everything. When I was 21, I realized I didn't know squat when I was 18. By the time 25 and then 30 and 40, you keep looking back going, good grief, but you have to build on something. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I could. Obviously, you can't know what you don't know, and you have to build. It's okay to have to learn from your experiences, and I surely have, and they've got me to where I am. So I don't know. I mean, I think everything. My wife always says everything happens for a reason. So, I mean, obviously, even if I look back and said I wish I wouldn't have made certain mistakes, you take a road and now your life is going this way. And so, I don't know. I don't think there's any way that you could have crammed any of all of my experiences into me at any one point in my life to get here. So, I'm happy with where I am. And I mean, I'm not just to say it is what it is, because it is, but I'm very thankful where I am.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to take the lumps and the experience and say, okay, here I am. What am I going to do today and tomorrow with that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
It's about moving forward.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You're either moving forward or backwards, and I'm going forwards.
Exactly.
I agree.
Love it. What is your favorite or something that a quote that you live by, either a quote or a saying that you just kind of sticks with you?
I wear a couple different hats, as I alluded to earlier. I'm a father. My son is going to be a senior at Virginia Tech. I'm a husband. I'm a business owner. I'm a coach, which that brings a whole lot of other, hats to it, where you're, not just telling them to run faster. Well, I guess that's maybe that brings it to sometimes I have them raise their hands like, who wants to be good, who wants to be great, who wants to. And then the last thing I say after they've all raised their hand at least once, I say, who wants to be the best that they can be. That was supposed to be the answer, right? So that's one of my, and I say that a lot, and one of the other things is, yeah, I think that's pretty much it, just always try to be the best that you can be. And I have a lot of sayings and isms, but that's probably in a nutshell is really what it
What you
comes
live
with,
by.
yeah.
That's a great one because aren't we all pursuing our best versions of ourselves?
We should be.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Oof, I like
I
that.
like that.
And you've given us a lot of quotes, a lot of sayings, man, and they all are linked back to relationship manager.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few. I print for customers I sold food to. I like that.
Mhm,
That you
mhm,
get
mhm.
that's phenomenal, right? You mess up, you own up,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
right?
That's big.
You also said, I hope I got it right, penny wise, dollar foolish.
Absolutely.
Like those are, and relationship manager,
Mhm.
relationship. You
Mhm.
said it like 8 different times. So, and knowing you for the years that I've known you, I'm going on 10 years now. How long you been in business there?
11
Yeah, I
/ 12.
remember
You've
when
been
I first-
first
yeah,
one from the very beginning.
man.
Because I was doing some other things at that time,
Uh-huh.
whether it was somebody with dry cleaning at Seaford and running back and
Yeah.
forth. And I remember you were just
man, it's
just cutting your
started.
teeth.
And one of the things that I can, as I'm sitting here talking to you, the same dude, man, like that energy, the honesty, and every time we talk, you're always looking. You just don't want money, man. You are always looking to improve what we give you, which is incredible. So I just want to give you the biggest shout out, man. If you guys are a business owner that's looking for, and another thing, I love how you put that, ink on paper. I like that. Ink on paper, right? This is the guy.
Yep.
His
Absolutely.
wife, phenomenal wife, and his team. You can't go no wrong, especially local.
Yeah. Right at
absolutely.
5 points. I mean, we can 5 points goes north, south, east, and west. And we cover this entire region with a lot of different items for a lot of different types of businesses.
You know what's so weird for me about your building? Progar used to be in there.
Yes.
And I remember when I would go meet with Mr. Progar, you still got that little office. That was his little conference room.
Oh,
you still
okay.
got when you walk in right there, man.
That's right. Straight in the very
every
right,
time I walk into your building, I think of Progar, man.
That's it's well, that would and I used to drive past it, and there was something about that location that spoke to me because when he left, it was empty for a while, and we actually saw Skip Faust, his name on and I've known Skip for a long time. I just would look over and see it, and it's still empty. It's still empty. It's still empty. It's still empty, and we finally made a call, and we looked at a space in the middle of the building. And wouldn't you know, within the next 2 weeks, somebody made an offer as is on that space that was empty forever. But the space on the end, which was twice as big, which is where we are, was open. We looked at it, I'm like, man, this is like twice as big. And now it's too small. And we have the space
Yeah.
next to us and that. And
Yeah.
it's too small
Yeah.
for what our next step would be.
That's right.
But that's okay. Again, things happen for a reason. I think, we're growing at the right pace at the right time. We have multi-unit customers. For example, Sodell, I sold beer to Matt Haley's restaurant when he was, a cook when he first started Redfin in Bethany, and then started selling food. He brought me in, and it's kind of, it's probably not a coincidence. Here we are years later, it's definitely over 12 years later, that they're up to 16 going on 17 restaurants, and we're riding, we're holding hands together, riding up and down. Sometimes we're throwing, things out to help each other out, but they're growing and we're growing right there with them. We help them whenever we can with ideas and solutions on let's say the size of the menu, the shape of the menu, and because they have a great team, but
And that's why I love where I live, man.
Yeah.
Sussex County, man. And just a big shout out to a local accountant, Progress and Associates. Just seeing different small businesses thriving
yeah,
locally is phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah.
This area's changed a lot since I moved down here, and it's what I say 95. So what's that? 27.
That's right. Yep, I came in '93. That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.
You're
Print.
welcome.
Thank you for
Coast
giving us
to
your
coast.
wisdom.
Yes.
Thank you.
J.
My
Diaz.
pleasure.
Please get in touch with him if you have any needs. He mentioned something earlier. He said he can take anything and turn it into something. So if you have an idea for your business or you need some help with your idea for your business, call Jay and he'll definitely make it happen for you. Thank you once again, Jay, for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me.
Appreciate it.
Wonderful as always. Appreciate
Well,
it.
make sure we'll put his number. What if people need to reach out to you? What's that number?
302-644-9570. If you go to printcoasttocoast.com, and that's the number 2, coast to coast. You'll see Melody and I. We probably need to get an updated picture. People say, "Oh, that was a couple years ago." I was like, "Yeah, it's hard to get out there to take the picture, but that's us. The heart and soul behind that business." Yeah. So reach out, Google us. You'll find us. We're on Savannah Road, right near 5 Points.
And stay tuned, right? We're going to see some, hopefully in the near future, some behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
That
right. It's
pressure,
coming.
that
It's
pressure.
coming. No pressure.
Thank you guys for joining us. Peace.